Hello, one and all. It is I, Artemis Faye. It has been a long ass time since I've been able to make something, and I'll talk about that on stream tomorrow. However, for now, I've got a Destiny 2 build for y'all. I know you haven't seen me play Destiny 2 yet, but it is one of my favorite games, and I think build crafting is pretty much the most fun thing you can do. Besides, like dungeon delving and things of that sort. But either way, this is the build I've been maining for months now, perhaps? And I wanted to share it all with you because it will go away at the capacity that it's at the end of Renegades. When Shadow and Order? When Shadow and Order comes out, this build will be gone, at least in the semblance that it's in right now. That is mostly due to the artifact mods I have set up. But the build will be, I'll show you how to replace the pieces for it if you're seeing this later than Renegades, that is. And this build that I have set up right now, the equipment on it is not completely ideal. It's definitely close to where it should be, but it's not perfect. So, without further ado, here's my Void Hunter build. I'm a Hunter main, through and through, as y'all should be. Oops, all hunters. I did that last night. And I guess I'm just going to start with what's pretty obvious. Praxic Blade, Orpheus Rig. If you've seen anything about the meta for Orpheus Rig with Mobius Quiver, and a heavy combat bow, it is incredibly meta. It is pumping out a freakish amount of damage. I should probably have launched us to the training grounds, not what it's called, but I will send us there now. Shooting range. I knew it was called something. Alright. Shooting range. In the meantime, this build, Praxic Blade, Orpheus Rig. It is a Invis Hunter build with Stylish Executioner. I use Trapper's Ambush because that way I have a panic button. But anyway, the way this plays out is Praxic Blade with Impact Core, which you can buy for, not scrap, credits, or you can gamble. Gives you Weaken when you get is it a hit or a kill? When you get a hit. And the fun thing about that is that you then take Stylish Executioner, which reads, defeating a weakened, suppressed, or volatile and target grants invisibility and true sight. The second half of this is not as important. However, this does mean that when you defeat targets with your Praxic Blade, it immediately procs Invis, which I personally love. It is extremely strong. It is just so much fun to play with. Most of your subclass abilities do not really matter. You're mostly just getting kills with your Praxic Blade, and then for DPS swapping to your crossbow and your super. I like Gambler's Dodge, gives me more Invis procs, triple jump because none of the other, I don't even have them unlocked. None of the other options are good. Snare Bomb is the only option. I like Scatter Grenade for the low cooldown and the fairly good damage. Now my other aspect, I took Trapper's Ambush. I have not seen a lot of people use this. I didn't even know this existed until recently. Trapper's Ambush reads, activate Quickfall to spend your melee charge and dive to the ground, creating a large smoke cloud on impact, which then dissipates. Targets caught in the cloud are weakened and your allies are made invisible. The second half reads basically the same thing. What this does is when you proc when you activate Quickfall, you press your air move and you just descend and immediately get Invis. It is a great panic button to have. I think personally there could also be an argument made for On the Prowl. On the Prowl is not 100% necessary, but with the 3 fragment slots, your fragments will be a little bit better off. There is a problem I'm having with only having 4 fragment slots currently, and I'll explain that in a minute. The other weapons you're going to want are going to be any kind of volatile rounds energy slot weapon. I'm using Moth Athenor because the only other weapon I have in this slot that has volatile rounds that is not a special weapon is a bow, and combat bows are fun, but if you don't know, they don't pop shields very quickly, and they will not take out constructs very quickly. So this is the only thing with D-Stab rounds that's actually a fair use case, I guess. If you're looking for a meta role, I would look for destabilizing rounds and repulsor brace. That's what I would like to have. I would like to have a destabilizing rounds repulsor brace cusp sempiternal, which is from the I believe 2nd or 3rd encounter of Epic Desert Perpetual. It is a auto frame healing rifle, or a healing frame auto rifle, sorry, and it can roll with destabilizing rounds and repulsor brace. I really love fast firing weapons over slower firing ones, and I really like healing frames. I think healing frames are really good in a group setting. So that would personally be my option. The other option that you could go for that might be a little bit easier to grind for, because, you know, Epic Desert Perpetual is kind of a nightmare, would be, I don't remember what it's called, but it is the Void Pulse Rifle that drops from Equilibrium. You could just grind first encounter for it, and it'll eventually drop destabilizing rounds and repulsor brace. I don't remember if it's a heat weapon or not. I think it is, and it's a pulse rifle, so fires medium speed, but it hits fairly hard. It might be a scout rifle, but I think it's a pulse rifle. That would be another option, but really anything with destabilizing rounds will work here. The reason that I like to have a destabilizing round weapon here is because, I mean, technically speaking, anything would work in this slot. However, I like to have a destabilizing rounds weapon so I can proc Invis without my Praxic Blade, because when I defeat a volatile target, it also grants Invis and True Sight. So that is another thing I like to do. My third weapon, Submersion. There's a reason I'm using Submersion and not some other weapon. The reason I'm using Submersion here has to do with the artifact, and also the roll on this Submersion. So, actually, this is, no distractions. I don't know actually what the god roll on this Submersion would be. However, I do know that Chill Clip is incredibly good on this because it stuns Overload champs. Chill Clip is good for Overload champs, and bows currently stun unstops. This is intrinsically anti-barrier. So this is anti-barrier, and your bow is anti-unstop and anti-overload. This is literally just basically champion killer, but also it will dish out like so much damage with the super. Orpheus Rig, again, reads, I guess I didn't go over this, reads provides ability energy for each target tethered by Deadfall Angers. Mobius Quiver has an additional shot. So essentially what happens is, that's really vague. Orpheus Rig, I might as well just show you. Orpheus Rig, I like to use Cabal because I can get Carl in here. Spawn him in. And with full this, I just kind of go pop my super, hit him in the head, hit him in the head again, hit him in the head again, hit him in the head again, another super, hit him in the head again, hit him in the head again, hit him in the head again, another super, hit him in the head again, head again, head again. And that's all my ammo and all my super. Pull bolts, get all 10 back, and I'm pumping out 30k. So generally speaking, what this does is, if you were paying attention, it first of all, it gives me a third shot. Second of all, that buff over on the left, Mobius Quiver, when I get, I think it's any damage buffs it. It is. However, bow damage buffs it more. And then what Mobius Quiver does is it buffs bow damage in turn. So at the end of this, I'm running 2,000 damage per hit instead of the regular, hold on, it's gotta stop taking damage. 2,000 damage per hit instead of 840. So I am, what is that, 2.5 times, 2.25 times my original damage. It's a very good DPS option. I do have one other thing to mention, which is that this helmet slot, you could also use Graviton Forfeit during your base game and then swap to Orpheus Rig for damage. I do not do that because I hate swapping. And I get that it's meta, but I just choose not to partake in it very much, especially not when I have a good setup like this. As for armors, anything goes. I like to use Swordmaster, because that way my Praxic Blade will exhaust targets, and Ferropotent because I get Devour pretty frequently. As for stats, I go for as high a super stat as possible, and then a high weapon stat. Those are the two things I go for. Melee is also worthwhile. Grenade is okay. There could be an argument made for class. Health is not as important. But really what you want to pump is your super stat. Super and weapons. I don't know why my melee is so high. Pump super and weapons. The rest of the subclass, I'm running Echo of Vigilance, Echo of Persistence, Echo of Reprisal, and Echo of Harvest. Echo of Vigilance reads that when I defeat a target, when my shields are depleted, it grants me a temporary void overshield. What this does in practice is, and I'm not really gonna be able to show it off super easily right now, but what it does in practice is it means that when I get a kill while my health is in red, I get an entire bar worth of overshield. I get a second life essentially if I get a kill while my shields are depleted. It is broken as hell. It has saved me so many times, especially when you can just kind of pop this thing out and block with it, and then reflect projectiles to get a kill, and it will proc that aspect, or that fragment. Echo of Persistence, because we will have invisibility, we will have overshield, and we will have devour. We have all three of those. It's nice to have them have increased times. Echo of Reprisal, there's a bit, this is the one that's gonna get swapped out when the season ends. This reads final blows were surrendered by combatants grant super energy. Your super comes back so fast in this build. The pure amount of orbs you're creating, the pure amount of super energy you have around you, the high super stat, all of that, you are getting your super back in literally like 20 or 30 or 40 seconds as long as you're constantly killing enemies. It's great. Super uptime is incredible. It's really good for boss phases because or for like dungeons or raids, because you do boss DPS and then you go and you just clear ads while you're doing mechanics, and it will give you back your entire super. Echo of Harvest, weakened targets creates a void orb of power and a void breach. Every single time you get a Praxic Blade kill, it is a weakened target. Every Praxic Blade kill, I think this might have a cooldown on it, but every Praxic Blade kill that is even possible drops an orb of power. The void breach is is not as necessary, but I will tell you why it will be important in just a moment. For now, we're gonna look at the artifact, and then I will look at my armor mods, and I'll show you kind of what the do's do. Anti-barrier hand cannon, you're wielding a hand cannon. It's nice to have. Overload pulse rifle. Again, if you pick up that pulse rifle from Equilibrium, you will have another overload stun. Unstoppable bow. because your crossbow counts as a bow. Third slot, expert handling. Actually, this is not the right build, is it? No, this is the right build. I don't remember if it is. I'm going to reset this because anti-barrier, pulse, unstop. Gravivoltaic, elemental siphon. This elemental siphon, rapid final blows with a kinetic weapon or a weapon matching your equipped super, create an elemental pickup that matches your equipped super. This will drop more void breaches. Power from pain. This is the piece of the artifact that makes this, that especially makes this build really good. Rapid final blows against weakened combatants grant you devour. All combatants that you're killing with your Praxic Blade count as weakened targets. Not count as, they are, because your Praxic Blade weakens them and then kills them. So you are getting devour basically every kill. That is where all of your health regen comes from. That is where a lot of your survivability comes from. I don't think I've been using repost. Kinetic synthesis is really good because that will keep your ammo on your excuse me, Praxic Blade nice and topped up. Singularity Blade, Void Elemental buff, weaken targets, melee and sword final blows create a weakening burst. So this means that it creates a weakening burst. You already get the weaken. Argent Blade is good. What else had I taken? I do not recall. Oh, reload at range. Bows. Your crossbow gives you, this gives you stacking bonus to that when you're doing DPS. Sword Storm combo, Void Infestation. Sword Storm is essentially you perform 3 light attacks and then a heavy attack, which is your sword, the Praxic Blade's sword combo anyway, and it just kind of procs extra surrounding damage, which will actually kill off small enemies, and proc more weaken. Void Infestation, trust me, it will look like you set off a it'll look like you fired off a graviton lance. It just fills the room with weakening projectiles. And so that is what the artifact looks like. As for armor mods, we're looking at all super. I do have 2 melee in here. I don't remember why I had pumped melee at all, but I think I don't even have a melee. I don't even have a super armor charge, which it's health. Which one is super? Legs? Legs is weapon. This is super. This is class. Element is super? Okay. I know why I didn't take a super font then. I would say I'll probably swap these to super because I don't need... You really just want to pump your super as high as possible. So I'm looking at Special Ammo Finder, Heavy Ammo Finder, and Kinetic Siphon. Heavy Ammo Finder because while you do get your bolts back for the crossbow, it also has a tendency to only give you 1 bolt per ammo box. So ammo pickup. So I would suggest using heavy ammo finder. Special ammo finder just makes sure your Praxic Blade is topped off at all times. Kinetic Siphon. Kinetic weapons create final blows, create an orb of power. Your Praxic Blade is a kinetic weapon. Again, with your weaken dropping orbs of power and your Kinetic Siphon dropping orbs of power, you really just have like a bajillion orbs of power all over the place, even without having cast your super. I have a double stasis loader here because heavy-handed, I'm not actually getting melee kills very frequently. I'm not getting grenade kills very frequently. I don't need melee or grenade fonts. I don't need any of this stuff. So I have double stasis loader to increase the reload speed of my crossbow because it reloads really slowly. And fastball just because I need an extra, I could throw that in there. Lucent Blades increases my sword recharge rate. I like to run a concussive dampener and then a resistance of some kind. There could be an argument made for 2 resistances and a concussive dampener if you don't care about blocking with your sword as much. Your Orpheus Rig. I like stacks on stacks. I know a lot of people don't, but I think it's nice to have maximum uptime on your stuff. Kinetic Weapon Surge does more damage with your Praxic Blade. An argument could be made to use a Stasis Surge for increased damage of your crossbow. I like Reaper, Time Dilation, and I didn't have space for Powerful Attraction. But Reaper, Time Dilation, I like to use those, and then I just used Bomber. Because you're already refunding your melee stat, your melee ability, might as well refund your grenade ability partially as well. As for rolls on Praxic Blade, I forgot to mention that. I used Balanced Form. Again, Impact Core is incredibly important. Any of these will work. I think Impact is going to be probably the most useful. I only have Echoing Blade as my catalyst. If you can get Hyper Blade, you will get even more damage resistance. Not that this is very damage resistance heavy, this is very heal heavy, but you will get damage resistance, and enemies will miss you more. That's what Amplified does. They're less accurate. So Hyper Blade would be the catalyst I would pick. I just do not have it yet. I think that's everything I've gone over. If you want me to, I will spawn in some enemies. I'll even spawn in some heavier enemies. Hello? That was weird. I'll even let them attack me. And so you see, I kind of just run around with my sword. Get a kill. Gives me my overshield and my invis, and then more kills give me more invis, more if my health is all back. And I'm one-shotting these enemies. Look, 2 orbs of power. And so you just kind of do that. All these orbs of power. I should have pumped out my super first to show you how that works. But that's essentially your game plan, is you run around. You block. You don't really need to block as much. You swing your sword at them. Ranged enemies, you can use the hand cannon or even the crossbow if they're heavier and you want to use bolts. Your panic button is your air move. You have a grenade, obviously, but your main panic button is your air move. You can also dodge to get your I have low enough class stat that doesn't even grant my whole thing back. Okay, never mind. If you run higher class stat, you can dodge to get your melee back to run a second air move. And yeah, that's kind of just the plan. It's just an Invis Hunter's wet dream, like literally. You just kind of run around, you slash at them, you do so much freaking damage. Your 3-sword combo, I bet I could even take out a swarm of these guys. Hi, friends. Okay, give me Devour. 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 Got my overshield. And if you ever need to back away, just get a kill and run off. If you ever need your health to regen, or you could always pop your emergency button. And also, for whatever reason, I do not know what interaction is causing this. However, your panic button If you activate it near enemies, it doesn't need to get a kill, but it only works sometimes. That's another thing I will say. Sometimes the sword weaken will not read. It will not give you invis 100% of the time. It gives you invis probably close to 80% of the time, but every so often you'll get a kill and it will not give you invis. So that is something to look out for. However, your deadfall, no, not deadfall. Deadfall is one of your boat or your super variants. Your quick fall. It will, at times, if you hit enemies with the thing, I think that's what the trigger for it is. I'm not 100% certain. I'm gonna come take some damage and activate this near enemies. Oh, I don't have it back. Hold on. Ignore that. I'm gonna rally and then do this again. I believe it's if you use it near enemies. That has been my observation thus far. Will give you... And again, it does not do it all of the time, so I honestly do not know what it is. But I have observed it giving me a full overshield. So just know that that is something that this build has the capacity to do. But other than that, I think that's everything I have for you. Again, here's the build. Mods, subclass, all my armor, my Praxic blade. And really it's just that easy. It's just that shrimple. If you like this build, I don't know, let me know. If you have any adjustments to it, let me know. This was an adjusted form of an old build I had seen. It was literally just the Orpheus rig, Mobius Quiver build, but it evolved into something that I think is one of the most fun builds to play, and also is just generally really good. But for now, I think that's all I got for you guys. Again, I will be streaming tomorrow. I finally got my internet back, thank God. It's been a couple of weeks, and yeah, just let me know what you think of it. You can find me at twitch.tv/ArtemisFayeVT, twitch.tv/ArtemisFayeVT, and go watch me live there. Subscribe to me here, follow me on Twitch, do the little things, like the video, all that good shit, and I'll see y'all in the next one.